Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I am so excited to bring you guys an early review for Marvel's latest movie, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So this review will not contain any spoilers, but I still really would love to know if you guys are excited for this movie. Let me know down below. And if you're watching this video and you've already seen the movie, then please let me know what you thought about this movie because I'd love to hear everything each and every one of you have to say. And yeah, let's get started. Martial arts master Shang-Chi confronts the past he thought he left behind when he's drawn into the web of the mysterious Ten Rings organization. The best compliment that I can give this movie is that I genuinely did not want it to end. And all of that is due to the incredible acting, the amazing direction that this movie has, and the jaw-dropping fight choreography that is sprinkled throughout the entire movie that just makes this movie insanely fun and one that I think will be one of the most rewatchable Marvel movies. I have to start by talking about the acting because there are a lot of people to praise here, and I'm going to start with the star of the show, Simu Liu, and wow guys, he really did embody this role. When I tell you guys that he's going to have such a strong future, not just as an actor as a whole, because this is his first feature role as a main character, I believe, but also just in the MCU. A lot of people are gonna say that Shang-Chi is their favorite character, and yes, it's also due to how incredibly well this character is written, but also all that Simu really brings to this role. You can tell he really cares about the character from the moment he was casted, and his acting is just so great in this movie. He's able to perfectly switch from being this really funny guy that you really enjoy having on screen to then this really emotional performance that makes you really feel for the character. Shang-Chi is a character that has a lot of layers, and I am very excited to see how much the more they're going to explore his character and the Ten Rings in the MCU, but as a singular movie, it does enough to just really get us to understand the character at a great level. I definitely think this is one of the better origin stories for a character we've gotten, and we really didn't know much of him in the MCU before this because it's not like a Spider-Man situation where he was introduced in Civil War, or T'Challa, for example, who was also introduced in Civil War and then got his solo movie. He just kind of just started off in this movie, and I think that was honestly the best way to open up his character and his appearance in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And something that I really appreciated was that this movie, yes, has a lot of Marvel references that I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy, but if you take all of that out, it's still a really well thought out character origin story. I think Marvel, especially where they are right now, they're really focused on just expanding the universe, which yes, if you're part of a cinematic universe, you're going to want to make a movie that's going to just withstand the test of time and also just fit in with the big narrative that Marvel has. But this movie works perfectly fine on its own, and that's something that I think Marvel has been lacking as of lately, and this just proved that maybe they're going in the right direction. And Simu Liu proves that he's really good at working with other people because he has chemistry with everybody on screen, and his acting bounces off everybody else's acting, and he just made for an awesome on-screen presence. I really cannot wait for a lot of people to see this movie because they're going to love him. I mean, before the movie came out, I loved him. You can tell that he's like the biggest Marvel fan, and that's what makes him just such a great addition to the Marvel universe, and I'm just really happy that he's here to stay. And we got to talk about Awkwafina because she's also really great in this movie. Awkwafina has had a pretty big year because she also did Raya and the Last Dragon, and I also really liked her in that movie. Awkwafina and Simu Liu in this movie are literally like my favorite Marvel duo, and this is technically the first movie in Phase 4 because yeah, Black Widow came out during this time, but I don't really count it as a Phase 4 movie just because it happened in the past. Awkwafina is a great addition to the cast. She was really funny. This movie has a lot of comedy that works really well. Yeah, there are some little moments here and there where the comedy just feels a tad bit forced, but when I tell you, it's like minuscule, like this tiny, because the comedy is really good here. And the script almost knows when to make a joke and when not to make a joke because Marvel humor is really great and all, but sometimes it could ruin some moments, and I didn't really think that happened a lot in this movie, which is something that I give a lot of points to because the movie knew how long to have a really tense moment, an emotional moment, without just bouncing in jokes here and there. I also really liked some of the depth that Awkwafina's character had, and I think in the future she's going to be a really great character to explore because already what we got here was really awesome, and especially towards the third act, I like a lot of stuff that she does and a lot of lines that she gives. I just think her character was really well done in this movie. And we gotta talk about Leung. He was incredible in this movie. A little fun fact, this is actually the legendary Hong Kong's film actor first role in an American film and with an English speaking role. I actually just saw his performance in Chungking Express, which I really recommend that movie just a lot to every single person watching this video, and he did a really good job here. And then seeing him in Shang-Chi was a completely different role than the one I had previously seen him in, and he's incredible. I literally need to go now and watch all of his movies because I was just so invested in his performance. What I love so much about his character is that yes, he's like the villain of the story, but I'd even go to say that he's an anti-hero. I really like the direction that they took his character because he wasn't just there to be evil and be terrible. You really kind of got to understand him, and we got to see him in the past before he turned into what we see in the movie, and you understand what he's going through. You also understand what his kids are going through and just everybody around him. His performance was so emotional and just felt very real to the situation that he was going through, and I really loved his character. He really surprised me because I never for a second doubted his performance, but his character surprised me because he's one of Marvel's best villains. Him and Simu worked so well off each other. I know I already said that, but I just need to mention it again because they did such a good job. I just really like their dynamic in this movie, and it's one that I'm craving to see again, if that makes sense. I just literally finished seeing the movie and I cannot wait to watch it another time. I also need to talk about Zhang. She did such a good job. She was so badass in this movie, and I don't want to give too much away. I feel like I keep repeating the same things, but she worked so well with everybody else, and I also didn't expect to see much of her because she's not really that much in the trailer, but she plays a pretty important part in this movie and one that I really like. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings has a ton of characters on screen, but they each get their moment to shine without overshadowing each other, and I think that's really important because it never feels like there's too much of this character and too much of that. I think they're all pretty well balanced, making it just more enjoyable on me as a viewer, and I think a lot of people are gonna just like that more because we're getting introduced to a ton of new characters. Special effects in this movie were incredible. Towards the end, it gets a little bit CGI heavy. I don't know if it might bother some people, but I thought the epic final battle was really great, and we also got to see a ton of different powers that we just haven't seen in Marvel before, and I think a lot of people are just gonna be amazed by. And there were so many cool scenes with water, especially on the big screen on IMAX. This movie is demanding to be seen on the biggest screen in the best quality possible because it just looks so great. And this world that was built had so many different elements to it that I loved so much, and it was just so beautiful. Like, I could even say it had some Hayao Miyazaki vibes with just the world building and how beautiful certain places were, and I really liked just the mythology of everything. It was just very interesting to just listen and watch, and I like how the story was told. There are a lot of flashbacks, but it never feels like they're giving us too much exposition. It genuinely feels earned, and I really like the way this was edited and just when certain scenes were added in and when they were cut. I think the entire team here really cared a lot about this story and just didn't want to make another big money-making Marvel movie. They genuinely cared about this story, and it definitely shows. I need to talk about the director, Destin Cretton, because he did an incredible job, and also the cinematographer, Bill Pope. This movie, like I've already said, looks beautiful, and I love the way the camera moves here, especially during the fight scenes, because the choreography is so great in this because I can always tell what's going on, and it just moves so well. There is so much rhythm with each fight scene, and it just looks so pleasing to the eye. I'm gonna say it, probably the best action Marvel has done in a long time because it looks so great, and it's something that we haven't seen before. If you take out the Marvel references and everything, I probably say this is just a really well done martial arts movie, because that's really the vibes they're giving us. And I genuinely think the team behind this movie looked at this movie and was like, let's just make a great movie instead of thinking let's just make a Marvel movie, because it really just stands out from the rest. I really hope they incorporate more of the action directing that this movie has in other movies of theirs, because it's really well done. I also really like the soundtrack of this movie and the score in general. Joel P. West is the composer, and he did a really great job here. It's emotional when it needs to be, it's lighthearted when it needs to be, and yeah, that's something else that I really liked about the movie. It wasn't super serious all of the times. Yes, there's a lot of emotional moments. There's moments where I pretty much cried, but there's also so many lighthearted and funny sequences that you guys are not ready for. I think Shang-Chi is going to be a lot of people's favorite character and a lot of people's favorite Marvel movie. I think this is definitely top tier Marvel. If I really had to give my negatives, I think the third act, towards the end, there's a little bit of too much stuff going on, maybe a little bit of pacing issues, because I think the movie is really perfectly paced and not being too fast and too like quick cutty and doing a bunch of things. But towards the third act, a lot of stuff is going on and it didn't take away too much of my experience, but that's just maybe something that I wish the third act would have been paced just like the first and the second act. But still, this movie is definitely one of Marvel's best movie and is going to be one of my favorite movies of the year. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is going to receive a grade A. Thank you guys so much for watching today's review. I hope you guys really enjoyed it, and like I said, please let me know, are you excited to watch Shang-Chi? You guys definitely need to go see this in theaters September 3rd. Show this movie all the love that it deserves, and by the time you're watching this, if you've seen the movie, let me know what you thought about it down below. But please make sure, if you're going to put spoilers, if you're going to talk spoilers, to put a spoiler warning just so other people don't get the movie spoiled. Also guys, you're gonna be so excited about the end credit scenes. I know I was freaking out, and I just can't wait for the entire world to see this amazing superhero movie. Thank you guys so much for watching again. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you liked what you saw today, and I'll make sure to see you guys in the next one for another movie review. Bye everyone!